Meet Sandra Marlowe, a former competitive athlete, mom of 5, and an ALS patient. A nervous system disease that quickly deteriorates her muscles and functionality. It's been less than a year from the official diagnosis.
It sounds like this happened in a very short amount of time.
It did.
Her children immediately rallied around her, not just as a family, but as a team.
As hard as this journey has been, it has given us an opportunity to appreciate each moment and appreciate each day that sometimes we don't in the busyness of life.
But it wasn't just Team Marlowe that was fighting the battle. The MLB has also gone to bat for patients like Sandra. ALS is commonly referred to as Lou Gehrig's disease, after the Yankees baseball player who died only 2 years after his diagnosis. This year, the MLB announced it's hosting the first annual Lou Gehrig Day on June 2nd to raise money for a cure. As a former athlete, Marlowe says this is a win for patients like her.
It means so much because in many ways, ALS falls in the shadows.
Over 5,000 people in the U.S. are diagnosed with the disease each year. That's about 15 cases a day. Right now, there are currently 2 drugs that treat ALS approved by the FDA. Clinical trials are necessary for the drug, but unfortunately, after the diagnosis, ALS patients typically only live for a few more years. Her son Byron says the family's been dealing with the harsh reality of their mom's sickness day by day.
It was never a question of to do or not to do, it's how much we can do.
While ALS has tragically changed the life of this family, the Marlows say one thing hasn't changed at all: their love for one another.
We make an amazing team, and we're really blessed to be able to work together and support our mom. There's no place we'd rather be than helping her.
I wish everyone could be as blessed to have a mom like this one.
In Lexington, Danielle Saitta, ABC 36 News. 67-year-old Sandra Marlowe was once a true competitor in the water, an award-winning swimmer. Now she's racing against a different clock. Living with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, the same disease that ended the life of a famous American athlete. June 2nd of 2021, the MLB named the day Lou Gehrig Day, 80 years after his death. While a milestone in the ALS community's push for a cure, Marlowe fears she won't live to see one. Marlowe's husband, Dr. Wayne Marlowe, says people with his wife's form of ALS, bulbar, can expect to live just 27 months after diagnosis. It slowly takes away a person's ability to speak, swallow, walk, even breathe.
Now, I don't have the capacity to do that.
Her tongue is mostly paralyzed, which makes it hard to understand her, especially for her young grandchildren.
And sure.
What?
Sure.
What?
She doesn't manage her saliva well, so it triggers coughing and requires family members to pat her back to help her breathe. In March of 2020, she was first diagnosed, though Sandra says she knew something was wrong months before.
Eating a piece of cake, my airway closed down, and it took several minutes to recover.
Sandra can still speak, but pretty soon she'll need the help of technology called augmentative and alternative communication.
It does help some, but it has limitations. I miss being able to initiate or respond in conversation.
If Sandra loses movement in her fingers, she'll then eventually have to communicate with her eyes.
How'd you sleep?
Okay.
Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I think maybe I'm going to hear my sweet wife's normal voice. And I don't.
For 6 months, Marlowe participated in a clinical trial of a new medication called zilucoplan through the Healy ALS platform trial based out of Boston, Massachusetts General Hospital. Sandra says it's not just to help herself.
I really wanted to use that as a chance to help others.
Sandra also takes an FDA-approved drug called Riluzole. Taking it could only mean extending her life for 3 months. Still, nothing is certain, which is why the Marlowes find every opportunity to be together. Or just a chance to be close by. In Lexington, Danielle Saitta, ABC 36 News. Sandra Marlowe has never taken a moment for granted. And that's because her progressive disease measures the time she has left, like the sand in an hourglass.
March 2020, right as COVID hit. We had the news.
ALS has caused a world of change for the once active and competitive athlete. When we last spoke to her in August, she had more mobility, could speak clearly, and eat some foods orally. But just a few months later, that's all changed. Every day, Sandra uses a cane and a chairlift to go up and down stairs. Her joints are starting to grow weak.
They're starting to curl up. One pointer finger. Can still point with one.
Her speech is no longer as clear, and her daughter Rachel now translates for her.
It so quickly takes your voice and swallowing.
Sandra has been using a feeding tube since February of 2021. At first, she could still eat some solid foods. Not anymore. Eating or drinking anything by mouth now causes choking. Even just taking a sip of water is too dangerous. Sandra now gets nutrients from a liquid diet through a tube.
But she was still finding herself very hungry. And in between feeding, still, it was not satisfying. And so she did some research and found that potatoes are known to be the most satiating. So it's just dehydrated potatoes, nothing else in it. And then we mix it with some dried milk and hot water. Whole milk, so to get the calories in there.
Feeding her often requires a second person, including her young grandchildren sometimes.
It's hard because I would rather be feeding them, but they're learning how to see the world to help.
For almost 2 years, the disease has slowly consumed her life. But her family, Team Marlowe, has kept her steady and balanced. They've been her biggest cheerleaders while she's helped science find a cure through clinical trials. For almost a year, she's been injecting special medicine into her body. Doctors believe it has slowed progression.
Do we know how life would be different had you not been a part of these trials and medications?
I think I probably wouldn't be here now.
The potential federal grant money would help fund $100 million annually for the next 5 years to companies producing these clinical trials. Before Marlowe was diagnosed, she admitted that she didn't know much about ALS and that it had been in the shadows for a long time. She hopes the new legislation will be another step towards changing that, possibly finding one or more cures.
We need several different types of medications to treat ALS. It's a disease that has many different ways of affecting the body.
While Sandra knows the odds of a cure for her aren't in her favor,
there's always something to be thankful for. You have a choice every day. You can focus on what you've lost, or be grateful for what you still have.
in Lexington, Danielle Saitta, ABC 36 News.